Golden Boyd is the 13th episode of the 7th season of Cheers. This is directed by the wonderful James Burrows, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And as is usually almost always the case with Cheers, it's a really great episode. I don't think it's one of my favourites, and I think that's because I'm quite confused with how I feel about Kelly. On the one hand, very well written character, really solid performance, but I just don't love the character, and I was hoping that opinion would change with watching the show again, because some of my opinions have changed with this latest viewing of the show in its entirety. Maybe that will over time, but for now, I don't think that's going to happen. But maybe it will. Either way, don't mind the character, just not a huge fan. The episode actually starts off with Cliff trying to find a present for his mother, and we actually have quite a sentimental moment with Carla, as she talks about how her favourite gifts are the ones her kids make her. And she's had a keychain that Anthony made her when he went to camp as a child, and Cliff buys it from her for $3. So maybe not that sentimental after all. Not a bad way to start things off. There's only one narrative for this episode, and we find out pretty quickly that Rebecca is having to, get other people to work at another party, and she's roped Sam and Woody in. And we cut immediately to the party, and Sam has found a way, he and Woody are bartending, and he's found a way to get more tips. Basically, whenever somebody asks him for a drink, he'll make side comments to Woody about how he used to be this baseball player and now he's just tending bar. No mention of the fact that he used to own the bar, and the bar Cheers, obviously, and people feel sorry for him and give him bigger tips, and this is a party with a lot of very wealthy people. So he's getting a lot of money. Honestly, it doesn't make me very comfortable. I don't like playing on people's emotions like that, but it's working well for Sam. And Woody goes to try it. It doesn't go according to plan. Woody's was actually quite funny. And Kelly, played by Jackie Swanson, thought he was quite funny as well. And Woody goes back over to Sam, and a character called Nash, played by Tyrone Power Jr., goes over to Woody and tells him to, and I quote, "keep your mouth shut," which is not great. He's not a likeable character, and Woody doesn't like this, and he's actually about to fight with Nash, which is not going to go down well. If Rebecca could see that, she would absolutely lose her mind. She's milling around the party as a guest, kind of, and Sam actually manages to break up the fight. And what I love about that is that it showed just how much work Sam actually puts in to running Cheers, and we don't really often get to see Sam working hard at Cheers, maybe a little bit more so now that he's not solely in charge of things. But it does show that actually he was faced with a lot of difficult situations, awkward customers, and he had to really step up and stop things like this from escalating, and I rather liked how he handled things. And then, once Sam walks away, Nash says that, Woody says, "you'll find me at Cheers," and Nash says he'll be there, and Woody says he'll be there with bells on, which I thought was rather adorable. And then we cut to Cheers, and Frasier comes in all excited, celebrating something, and the guys have some cigars. I think they had 3 cigars for a total of 45 cents. I don't know a lot about cigars, but that seems cheap, even for the 80s. And then Nash comes in, and Woody and Nash go to the back room to fight. Now, I don't love fighting. In fact, I hate it. But I did like how it played out, because they all go to the back. Everybody follows, chanting Woody's name, which was really lovely to see. And then we just have silence for a couple of seconds. We hear a thump, and then everybody's chanting, "Rich guy, rich guy." Needless to say, it didn't go well for Woody. And Woody's nursing his injury a little later behind the bar, and Kelly comes in. And she comes in saying that she's looking for Woody because her boyfriend was going to come and beat him up, and she basically apologizes on Nash's behalf. And honestly, she's really sweet. She's a really likable character. I just don't like her. I think it's that I don't find her funny. And that's not to say there aren't maybe things here and there that are funny about the character, but in general, when it comes to Cheers characters, and of course I can't say too much about the future of the character, but when it comes to characters in Cheers, they're usually laugh out loud, rolling on the floor, crying, funny. I don't know why I said crying twice there. It's that funny. And with Kelly, I've just never had that response to the character. So it's not so much that I don't like her as a person. It's more that I don't think she adds a lot of value to the show. But as I said, there are times, And maybe with this watch of the show, I will have a difference of opinion. It has happened. This time round, I've really enjoyed the Bar Wars episodes, and the first time, not so much. So we'll see what's happening there. I'll not say too much more about Kelly, at least with the future of the character. But the point there, I guess, is that she's really likable. She's really sweet. I just don't think she's particularly funny. And when she leaves, Sam kind of gives Woody an idea that the best way for him to get back at Nash is to go on a date with Kelly. And we do have what I think is an exceptionally funny moment, probably what I would think is the funniest moment in the episode. And Woody asks Rebecca if it's okay if he goes to ask her boss permission to date his daughter, and Rebecca initially says yes, and then immediately realizes what she's said yes to, and she comes running out of the office, screaming no the entire way, and pounces on Woody, and she and Woody end up in a heap on the floor. And it was just fabulous, and very, very funny, and probably, as I said, my favourite moment in the entire episode. Woody then is reading out a note that Rebecca has clearly written for him, and is asking Kelly's father for permission to date her. And then it got really awkward because Nash and Kelly came into the room. And I have to say, obviously, they say no and leave. Kelly is left on her own with Woody. And I liked this moment because Woody said, I've heard your father's answer and I've heard Nash's answer, but I haven't heard your answer. And I like the fact that in that moment he realised that everybody had spoken on behalf of Kelly. Kelly didn't actually get a chance to say what she thought. And I like that nobody else acknowledged that, but Woody did. And I think that says a lot about Woody's character, and I really liked that moment. And I will say, as much as I think Kelly is a really likable character in terms of having a nice personality, I don't agree with what she does in the rest of the episode. Because she says that actually she will go on that date with Woody. And she's going on a date with Woody because she hates to think of the fact that people treat her like Nash's property, which, yes, I completely agree with. That is how it comes across. But she's agreeing to date Woody, even though she's been in a relationship with Nash for a couple of years. So basically, she's agreeing to have some kind of an affair. Granted, they're just going out for dinner. It's not, as far as we know, it's probably not going to get physical or anything. Woody's only doing this to get back at Nash, and Kelly's only doing this to prove a point. But she's still agreeing to go out on a date with somebody while she's in what seems like a committed relationship with somebody else. And it's not really a good look for anybody. So as nice as she is, I don't think she had the right behaviour here. And we're then back at Cheers, and Rebecca is actually really happy that Woody and Kelly have gone on a date because maybe they'll get married and Woody will become VP, and that will do really well for Rebecca's career. And then they come back in, and not long after Woody and Kelly arrive, Nash turns up, and I did think he was going to start throwing punches again, but actually he said to Kelly, and it's really quite nasty, he says there's no way that she would date Woody just to date him, so she must be trying to prove some kind of point. And I guess to Nash's credit, he did say, point taken, I will now change, I will be a different person, which I don't believe. I don't believe it for 1 second, but nevertheless, it seems like in that moment, the date had served a purpose for both Kelly and Woody, and theoretically, if Nash did then change and he did treat her better, then that would be a brilliant outcome. But at the same time, Kelly did still agree to go on a date with somebody while she was in a committed relationship. So I still can't get over that part of it, even if there was an ulterior motive there. And even if it seems like, in the moment, it had the desired effect. And Woody and Kelly do have some very well written, very well delivered, sweet parting words for each other. It's really lovely to see. And she leaves with Nash. And with some encouragement, Woody realises that actually he needs to tell her he wants to have another date. Woody is actively trying to break up a relationship. Granted, it doesn't seem like Kelly should be with Nash because he doesn't seem very nice, but it's still, again, not a great look. And nevertheless, he goes out to tell her that he actually wants to see her again, just as she's running back into Cheers. And this is where she kind of wins me back a little bit, because she says that she was getting into the car with Nash, and she realised then that actually she has more fun with Woody. And in that moment, it kind of suggests that actually maybe she's going to break things off with Nash to then potentially pursue a relationship with Woody, which is definitely more favourable than just dating Woody while in a relationship. So it was a sweet moment and a nice way to end things, I guess. Personal highlights would have to be, I quite liked the intro with Carla and the keychain. It's also not often we see Carla being sentimental, so it was quite nice, even though she did sell it. And certainly Rebecca screaming no and jumping on Woody. It's my favourite moment in the entire episode. It's not the funniest episode, to be honest. I don't think I laughed that often, which is very, very rare for Cheers. And I think that is largely because I don't think Kelly is particularly funny. And obviously a lot of the focus was on her. That's not to say I didn't enjoy the episode, but it's definitely not the funniest. But nevertheless, it's not too bad. I wouldn't skip it. And the next time I binge watch season 7, I'm sure I'll watch this episode. Golden Boyd may not be a personal favourite, but all things considered, it's still a good episode of Cheers.